Animal movies seem to be making a comeback. Today we've got a movie about a bird and a dinosaur. So, this is... that was terrible. This is a double review from Rural Thirds. My name is Sean.
And my name is Max.
I love it. And we're welcome to Rural Thirds. We're doing a double review, and we're kind of doing it quick, hence the unbelievably masterful, well-thought-out intro I'm doing here. We're doing a double review for The Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 2. Which is a little old, but we still want to talk about it. And then Pixar's The Good Dinosaur. This is the first time we get two Pixars in a year, and we're going to talk about both. So let's just get right to it. Max, I'm not going to ask how you are because we're both busy. I know how you are, but we'll get this show on the road. Mm-hmm. We'll just do the community segment really quickly. Whitley, yes, we're going to hopefully not have that problem again with Max's mic.
I sure
and
hope
yes,
so.
I do know what the Torah is. That was a joke. I'm very aware of what the Torah is. Anyway, I was hoping it was obviously a joke when I said, what's the Torah? He agrees with us on Spectre, so that's great. And let's see, what else do we say? We have Seth saying that he liked Peanuts. Biggest disappointment was Home, because he just said it was awful, which, I mean, what did you expect? I didn't think it looked very good.
You never know. And
then he makes a Sonic joke that I'm not really going to get, because I don't really know about Sonic, so go ahead and read that if you want. And then Gear 12, who doesn't comment much, but thanks for commenting in, says, least favorite thing about Spectre was a ham-fisted attempt to try and make it look like everything was connected. Yeah, pretty much.
We're with you on that, Gear.
Yeah, and he says that how to ruin a good franchise is that it turns out the whole Jar Jar being a Sith thing will turn out to be true. Honestly, that might be awesome. If they pull it off, I'm of the favor.
I don't even dislike Jar Jar that much. It just seems so out of left field. It's like, whatever.
Oh, they won't. Let's just be clear. It's not going to happen. Yeah, and he wants Haley Atwell for Bond, which I'm down. I'm down. Whatever. So that's Community. Please again leave us some comments. For this video, and we'll read them next time. And I guess your question is, what do you think of Mockingjay and Good Dinosaur? And if something comes up in the review, we'll come up with other questions at the end. But let's just get right to it. Yes.
I'd like to ask a question in real time for this discussion. Can we do Good Dinosaur first?
Ooh, I wanted to do it second.
Why? I want to do Mockingjay last. This is...
Because Mockingjay was sooner. I don't know why. I just thought it'd go first because it came out first.
Mockingjay I think is a little bit more complicated.
Yeah, it is. It definitely is. Okay, fine. Let's start with Good Dinosaur.
Bam! That's how business happens.
Exactly. So, Max, why don't you start with your thesis statement and score for The Good Dinosaur?
Okay. The Good Dinosaur is simple. The Good Dinosaur is straightforward, and The Good Dinosaur is forthright. But for some reason, people think that's a bad thing, and I don't think it's that at all. I think The Good Dinosaur, minus the Pixar name, is a very modest, very humble animated movie with goals and aspirations that it absolutely achieves. That are, again, simple and down to earth. It proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that even with the most basic storytelling tools, you can absolutely tell a compelling, enriching, enjoyable, and emotional story. And I really, really enjoyed myself. I mean, yeah, it's not Inside Out, but honestly, if we're going to demand that Pixar be, amazing every single time, that's just not fair. So I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. It's not a great dinosaur, but it's a good dinosaur. It's a really good dinosaur.
Okay. I'm a little different. I think it was a fault. I think The Good Dinosaur lacks a core. It lacks anything holding it together. Things felt out of place. Things felt unnecessary. It all came across as very basic. The plot itself is just return home, unconnected adventures come into play. I don't know if they were connected thematically. I didn't really get anything. Characters seemed to repeat. I liked Spot, the human character, but otherwise none of the characters really resonated with me. And the script is really kind of the bad side of dialogue-less storytelling that Pixar's done before, where all the dialogue, because they're so little, is forced to be the most obvious, basically written statement of goals or feelings or whatever. There was no nuance to this script at all. There was nothing character-driven. It was all just statements. And there were those quiet moments that worked without the dialogue. But overall, it was kind of an unenjoyable experience for me. And we're going to get to the whole terrible, jarring difference between the environments and the characters, but that's definitely on my list of annoyances. So I'm actually going to be giving The Good Dinosaur a 4 out of 10.
Get out.
The weak dinosaur.
The door is right there, Sean.
The weak dinosaur. Okay, so let's start with the obvious. I was worried from the trailers, and it was confirmed here. I think it was a terrible decision to have such unbelievably gorgeous, photorealistic environments and backdrops. Like, honestly, there was like the shot of the river where it was like the pebbles underneath and the water just shimmering. It looked like they just filmed it.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's animation. It's unbelievable. And then we get the characters who are cartoonish, not even that detailed, and they move cartoonishly. And there's a bit of slapstick. There's a bit of goofy faces, and it doesn't gel. It just simply doesn't gel. I was trying to look at the beautiful backdrops, and these completely out of place, cartoonish.
I think they looked fine. I think they coincided pretty well. I don't think it was exceptional or anything, but I was never distracted. I love the character's design. I mean, maybe that's just because I'm partial to how Pixar designs its characters, but I find that the environments they were beautiful, but they were subtle enough to not take away from the characters. I
think it's flipped. I think I was so... Because the backdrops were so gorgeous, I was so inclined to look at them. And so when I shifted back to the characters and I guess the story following the character stuff, it just felt so much less. It felt like such a downgrade. And your eye candy, your beautiful backdrops, which, I mean, I will give credit where credit's due. Unbelievable. The best animation I've ever seen. Hands down. It's unbelievable. And a lot of it was based actually on Montana wilderness, and it looks really similar.
I think it was also based on New Mexico, too, because there's a lot of parts in there that's just very much New Mexico desert.
So, yeah, we both kind of felt a little bit at home with these backdrops, and they're gorgeous. We know what they look like in real life, and that's what they look like. I just didn't like the character. It didn't look right. Like, especially the later villains, not the flying ones, the ground ones, don't know how much spoiler we want to get. They just looked so ugly, so out of place, so cartoonish. They looked like they could fit in, like, Monsters, Inc. Not this.
You mean like the raptors with emo hair?
Yeah. Oh. This looked like you could honestly just throw live action on a green screen, and they'd fit. Like, you know, like Sky Captain World of Tomorrow, where it was shot all on a green screen. That could have been done here, but instead we get really cartoonish. It was very jarring to me.
It wasn't to me, and that's just how it is. I'm not really gonna dispute what you say because again, this is a very subjective part of it. Because depending on how different the animation is from from backdrops from characters, personally, it was never an issue to me. But I really can't say, oh, you're wrong because that's totally based on vision and eyesight and and comprehension. Sure. So whatever.
Sure. I just think as a basic rule.
And honestly, I'm not in the mood to really talk about how beautiful the animation is because, I mean, duh. It's Pixar.
Yeah. I did want to point out
the best looking animated movie of all time in 3 years is going to be a Pixar movie, probably. That's just how it's been these days.
That's fair. So I guess the next point, let's just talk about the plot. I don't like that they it's presented as what would happen if the asteroid didn't wipe out the dinosaurs, because that's really not what they answered. This was just a Pixar world where dinosaurs were like the people, just like Monsters, Inc. are kind of the people, or Cars are the people, or Toys are the people. It's just another Pixar world. And so I feel like that was a weird way to open the movie. It's really not the what if, because guess what? If dinosaurs hadn't been wiped out, they weren't going to start farming. I'm sorry. This isn't the what if movie that they promised. That's just not the thing.
I suppose, but that never really bothered me personally. I mean, it's just... Maybe I guess they could have taken that out and we would have gotten the same Pixar movie, but
right.
Its inclusion is not a deal breaker for me.
Right, but people should know that going in. It's basically just another Pixar world where dinosaurs are the people, so that's all. But the story itself, I mean, again, this isn't even really a spoiler. The trailer has it, and there's really not much added in the film. Our main character, Arlo, separated from his family, and then has to get back. That's it.
Yes, but I think a lot of the trailer does not spoil stuff like the antagonists, which I find very interesting. The a lot of the really good humor. The trailers do not spoil the humor. There's a lot of really funny parts in this movie that I'm very glad I didn't hear before.
Really?
Yes. Yes, really.
I can't remember laughing.
What?
I can't.
The whole the guy with the he's like a triceratops kind of guy with all the animals on him. The weird drug trip.
So, drug trip was awful. Simply horrendous. A terrible decision. Maybe it's this. Maybe the photorealism is just bad in general. Because the plot is cartoonish, the characters are cartoonish, that the drug sequence is unbelievably surreal and cartoonish, and then you give us a nature documentary in the background and it's confusing. And so I feel like that just ruined the tone of the movie. It's a weird example of the visuals going so far that it actively kind of messes with expectations as you're watching. I'm not talking expectations going in, I'm talking while you're watching. For me at least, a movie kind of what you expect the movie to do, it didn't do what that type of animation kind of implies,
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I did want to bring up kind of the plot structure is very episodic, which can work, I don't think it does here.
I don't
Because
actually. I would dispute that only because I've seen another movie, another animated movie that is most certainly more episodic than this, and this is not episodic. I can tell you that.
what is it?
The Peanuts movie.
Oh, Peanuts movie. Yeah.
That movie. It's a good movie, but it's very episodic in a point where like the plot doesn't really feel organic. Here, I totally think it's really organic and it's just a journey. Again, it's very simple,
Right.
very like hero's journey kind of stuff. But I don't think that's a bad thing at all. I think it's well.
I just kind of want to get more in depth on the plot. So let's switch over to characters because then I want to go into spoilers and kind of talk about specific things in the plot. But for me, it felt a little too episodic, and I didn't get any unexpected things. It felt very just kind of here's a thing, then here's a thing, then here's a thing. It didn't feel structured. That's kind of my biggest problem. It didn't feel centered on anything. Ideas felt like they were just there, weren't as grounded. So, do you want to do characters?
Sure, I loved Arlo. I really did.
I don't know Arlo. He just was kind of hashtag relatable.
He's totally relatable.
That's the
what movie did
problem.
you
When we
watch?
get to this, sorry, go ahead.
He's a kid who's scared of things, and like
I know.
he's caught in a position that's like you can totally understand where he's coming from, but it's not a world that like is exceptionally nice to people who are afraid of things. And what he learns, and through the movie, it's a good arc for him. It's like he becomes more aware of his fear, but not to the point where he decides to expel it. It's funny. Like the theme of this movie kind of rhymes with Inside Out in a few ways, and that's totally coincidental. But I think it's totally. It would be. I would tell you, it would be Fear's favorite movie. He would love this.
Yeah. Basically, here's kind of what I got in terms of Arlo's arc and kind of the theme. I got a very basic.
You keep saying basic like it's a really bad thing. I don't see that.
I'm using it poorly. I didn't get Arlo. There was no. Okay, like look at Inside Out. Look at any other Pixar movie that's considered one of the higher caliber things. They have really textured characters. And they have really like different circumstances for these characters to be in. Like even like Finding Nemo, which is definitely leaning more towards the kids movie instead of all ages, which is a distinction Pixar kind of jumps around between.
I don't know, man. Finding Nemo begins with something that I think.
But so does Lion King. Lion King's a kids movie, but again. Disney and Pixar both kind of tread that fine line. But Finding Nemo is more on that side. Marlon is put in a lot of situations where you get a lot of his selfishness, you get a lot of his paranoia that's completely justified in his head, but honestly, it's to a fault to the other characters, and you wish you'd see that. Like, there's a very textured character with Marlon. Nemo doesn't really have that. That's why he's not really the interesting part of the film. He's not really the protagonist. So kind of with The Good Dinosaurs, we get Nemo. We get I'm Afraid pretty much the whole movie.
Well,
I didn't
not
get much
entirely,
variation.
No, not entirely. I think
I didn't get any variation. He might have let up a bit with
Arlo learns at first to be brave all the time, and then the big drop happens that it's okay to be scared. Like it's almost like it goes down a generic route, and then it suddenly turns into okay, I understand what's going on now.
But I've seen that. That's still the generic route. Nothing unexpected happened in this plot. Arlo,
and I agree,
left his
but
mark.
it doesn't bother me at all.
I felt like it was so unambitious. And it's
yes, it's not ambitious, but I don't see that. I don't think ambition is what makes a good movie or a bad movie. Maybe ambitious is what makes a great movie, but not a good one. Well,
I mean, you gave it an 8, and that's great on our scale.
Is it? Well,
yes. You might want to drop to 7.5 then, which is the very good.
I don't really feel like it though.
Well, 7.5 is the very good, but whatever. But I don't know. I will say that I really liked the look. Even in the backdrop, the look and how he's animated I want to say Spot, or is it Spike? Spot. I couldn't remember it being pronounced. It was like flipping between the two while I was watching. I couldn't remember.
It is Spot.
Okay, Spot. I really like that character. There was something they did really well with his eyes and him trying to understand things and him thinking and realizing how to communicate. This nonverbal character, it was really well done with the eyes. And that's kind of why I'd rather have him be the protagonist instead of Arlo, honestly. Like this scene, no spoilers, but the scene where Arlo's trying to explain a situation and he kind of mimics it with some pieces of wood in the sand, right? And then Spot kind of replies. Like, it was a really powerful scene. And so I think Spot carries a lot of that for me, because I think they did wonderful stuff with how to non-verbally show him processing information, because this is a caveman pretty much. So you got to show the gears turning slower than we are. So I think that was really well done. It's a very sympathetic character because they're a child, but also kind of still trying to work through it all as a species. Humans haven't really figured out a lot of the stuff he's faced with. So I really like that character. Do you have anything?
I like Spot too. I'm all about Arlo though. I really do like how I sympathize with him. I sympathize with his journey and
Look, I totally
his
get
anger
fear,
and his his misplace of the blame on his father's death, like all that stuff. It really does go to like
Spoilers.
It goes. Oh, come on, guys! you know what happens. This movie pulled The Lion King.
That scene where him and his father running through the field. Come on, don't rip off Lion King.
Yeah, it's okay. I will say this movie again. It's not spotless. It does take a lot of cues from The Lion King and Ice Age of all things. But again, I'm not gonna I totally sympathize with Arlo, and again, I think it really comes down to his focus of the blame of his father's death. How he keeps putting it on Spot when this is so much more complicated than that. I think he realizes that. And I think that's why I find it a lot more enjoyable. And if it was just like, I forgive you, he's like, well, it sort of is your, but it also is it's complicated. So we're just gonna work on it. Now, should we just like put up a spoiler thing? Because I'm about to say
why
like.
not?
Now I will say when he says like, but I love him. Like that's a bit too much, a bit much, too far, a bit too early for that kind of thing where it's like, loves him like a pet or whatever. But other than that, though, yeah, I'm on Team Arlo. I totally enjoy this kid.
I didn't like the way he was a dog like 10% of the time. That was weird. Oh, look at that.
I think there's supposed to be parallels with like sort of the whole, kids gotta get back home and he meets a dog who's like, a boy and his dog kind of thing. Maybe.
Yeah, except it's a dog, dinosaur, and his person. I kind of want to just run through the plot really quick and ask a few questions. Why I think it feels so episodic is because it's basically a movie where 3 things happen in the middle, really, and all 3 could be honestly kind of taken out, and you wouldn't really notice. Like the rhinoceros-y horned weird character.
There's a name for it. There's a name. It's just a very long name.
Unnecessary. Like that. I mean, it was amusing. This is Deborah. Amusing. Yes.
I don't think it was unnecessary at all. I think it's the first time that Arlo shows some kind of caring for Spot. Like without Arlo could have easily been like, yeah, you know what, yeah, you go with him, you go like become his pet. But no, Arlo like takes responsibility. And I think that's an important part of his character growth.
But that could be combined in any other of the events that happen. Like, okay, let's move on to the second one.
I'll
like when in the second one with the not the vultures, it's the dinosaur one, the pterodactyls. That could have been taken out unless you need some other antagonist.
That was
force,
totally unexpected. I did not expect him to turn evil. Like
me neither, and I think that was horribly handled. I think that was really jarring and violent and mean spirited. Honestly, it was not funny. He
did a great job of establishing the villain, though. I was like, oh my god,
that was a bad villain. It was just an in-your-face, obnoxious, ugly, 2-dimensional, weird surfer dude with a touch of Bond villain. I did not like that villain. And he was in it way too little. He didn't actually have anything to do with the story outside of just chase our hero. This is the problem with a lot of journey/survival stories. It's just kind of a force of nature put into, like a bird of prey. And it didn't click. It just kind of felt like this jerk pterodactyl. I don't know why it was antagonist. I don't know what it represented to Arlo.
Well,
it was just kind
if you notice, Sean, I'm sure you did notice. All three of these gatherings, I think it was 3, were let's see. There's the group of raptors, the group of pterodactyls, and the group of T-Rexes. They're all in groups of 3. They're families of 3.
Yes,
and
I felt that. It was
I
very
think that's
repetitive
totally intentional and totally like a good way of like providing Arlo with a sense of perspective based on the group of 3 that he's trying to get home to. Like how everything seems so complete without him, and then he's kind of like outside the circle, and he's still trying to get home, but it's like a good way of like looking at how this world works in conjunction with 3 families as opposed to a family of 4 like he has.
But honestly, it just kind of felt repetitive. It felt like, oh, he gets to a group. He gets to a group, and then he comes to another group. It felt there wasn't any variation in it, and the only thing that came back was the pterodactyls kind of being the villains at the end, trying to get Spot. But honestly, the whole cattle wrestling thing could have been dropped completely. The whole moral of having to have some fear of Smart is important to the movie. I just think it's kind of, standard and very, very just said for you, which is another reason I say this is a kids movie, not an all ages movie. It's just Sam Elliott just kind of says in his wisdom voice, "Here's the moral of the story." It was a bit much for me, especially just around the campfire. So like, oh, here's the time for the reveal of the moral, the wise old dinosaur around the campfire. Like I saw it coming. It could have been taken out. What does cattle wrestling have to do with the story? What did that prove to Arlo? He did, kind of muster up and bring that branch in, but it didn't feel like it was actually grounded in the story. And that's kind of the problem with this type of movie. You kind of just created a story where character has to get from point A to point B, and you get to just throw stuff in his way. And so unless you really make it thematic, the actions taking place, like really, really put effort into that and really tie it together with something stronger than this, it feels like just random encounters. And that's what it felt like to me. Just felt like, oh, now I'm with this character and this family, ooh, they're evils, and now we're with this one, they're good, but I thought they were evils. And it's I think if I watch this movie like another like time or two, I think I can tell you exactly what each family represents, but I guess I didn't get that from my first viewing, and that's kind of what we're here to do. So I mean, I won't dispute that, but I think there is some thematic importance to each group, and I will tell you at some point when I watch the movie again. Okay, I mean,
let's see. What else do we need to go over?
Well, I don't know. I guess like just some of the minor nitpicks I had. Like if his father chuckled wholesomely one more time, I was just gonna scream. Like I swear, half his dialogue was wholesome chuckling. It was terrible. It drove me nuts.
Honestly, he reminds me. I watched this movie the other day. He almost reminds me of a better version of Bruce Wayne's father in Batman Begins, who just says all of the best things to Bruce and then dies.
Yeah, at least it wasn't this constant wholesome chuckling. I hate that wholesome chuckle. Anyway, these are minor notes. So, is that it for Good Dinosaur?
No, I'll say, let's see.
Okay.
I guess my problems, let's see. Libby and... what was the other name? No, that's Spot. No.
Right,
Bert? Something like that? No,
maybe. Anyway, him.
Yeah, the brother and the sister, underutilized, I think.
Yeah, well, I mean, the mother wasn't developed either.
Yeah, I would say that too. I know it's all about the relationship between the son and the father, and that's that's important. But I think could have been a bit. They could have been a bit explored a tiny bit more.
Yeah.
Even if they provided some laughs, it was like that kind of thing. And then let's see, the ending is a bit too like clean, I guess. But then again, it's Pixar, and
that's actually a big question. We're in spoiler, so it's like we need your help, or we're all going to starve in the harvest. And then he gets back, and they've harvested. Like, the whole stake of the film was kind of, like, thematically, I get the arc, fear and living with it, but learning it's okay. I get it. But in terms of plot, it was kind of a pointless movie. Because the whole driving for him to get home was that time thing of the snow arriving, it was a time constraint of, oh, my family's going to starve if I don't get back to help before first snowfall. But then he gets back and it's done. It was weirdly just kind of brushed aside. So, and yeah, the ending was a bit sappy and just kind of course, and left his mark. I mean, that was another thing. Like, if in the first 5 minutes I know the last shot of your movie, I mean, come on. You got to do something, because as soon as all the footprints were going up on the tower, I'm like, okay, so the last shot is Arlo's footprint. I mean, come on, it's pretty obvious. So I would have. That's it. It kind of feels just derivative to me. It didn't feel coherent. It didn't feel ambitious. It felt very basic. The script didn't have any nuances. Those are kind of my major notes, and the visual jarringness really bothered me. So that's my end of Good Dinosaur. Do you have anything else?
No. I loved the score too. I think that was very nice. Again, maybe the whole thing feels a bit perfunctory, but I really enjoyed the movie for being so simple and having such a very, it's not trying to shoot for the stars. It's just trying to tell a good story, and I think it totally does. I think it's, but that's my take on it. So
I guess my counter is that Pixar is one of the, pretty much the only studio that consistently can reach the stars. So it's kind of,
but that's unfair of us to say
try.
Anyway. We cannot demand that Pixar put out amazing things every single time. That's
they did
so
for a while.
That's asking an A student get 100 on every single test. They're not going to get 100 on every single test because they're not robots. They're human.
Well, I mean, a computer did make the movie technically, so get it? Computer animation.
All right, let's not.
Anyway, I know people made it. Anyway, so there's our Good Dinosaur. Again, my score was 4. Just a disappointing, weak film. And Max, you had it at
8.
8. Even though you don't say it's great.
No,
weird,
but I don't think it's 7.5.
Rounding...
This is why I don't... Well, we'll get to a number of scores in just a second. But that's, I would still say it's better than a 7.5, even though it's not great.
Okay, so 7.8. 7.75.
7.9. Fine. Okay. There we go.
So now we're on to The Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 2. Controversial split of the third book into movies. Finale of the franchise. It all builds to this. Host never goes first. So Max, what did you think of this?
Sean, should we maybe point out what we thought of the previous movies just to get the context?
Good. I'll go first. Hunger Games solid for sure, but shaky cam was overused, and it felt a little. I don't know. I couldn't get into it that much. Something was off. I haven't seen it in a while though, but I did like it. Catching Fire, I absolutely love. I love that movie. I think it's an excellent film, and definitely watch the first just so you can enjoy Catching Fire. I think it's amazing. Mockingjay Part 1, I actually appreciated its slower pace. I think it was quite good. It wasn't anything great, but it was good. I would definitely call it a good film, and I liked its kind of talking about propaganda, its use of it. It was clever. It was smarter than the average blockbuster, had more to say. It was slower, had the guts to be slower. I like that. And then we're going to Part 4. So, Max, what do you think? The previous 3.
Okay, Hunger Games is okay. It's okay. Pretty much all the same problems that you have, Sean, but just magnified. Catching Fire, I think, was solid. Good movie. Pretty good. And then Mockingjay is excellent. Mockingjay's good
really?
filmmaking stuff.
It's fun that we switch on Catching Fire and Mockingjay Part 1.
If you look back, you'll find a review. I don't mean to have expectations. I try my best, but I was completely caught off guard by how awesome that film was. So, I mean,
Well, yeah, I really liked it too.
But I will also say that my apathy for this franchise is at an all-time high. So I expelled it when I walked into the theater, but I just want to point that out. And I have not read any of the books. Have you read any of the books, Sean?
No.
Okay, just to point that out.
Reading?
Yeah.
No.
And the books don't matter in this conversation. You better remember that.
Books don't matter. All right, so Who's Never goes first with the thesis. So Max, and the latest. Give us your thoughts on the latest. You love the first Mockingjay. How'd they follow it up?
Okay, so even though I use it on this podcast all the time, I don't. If it's up to me, I would not ever give number scores because I don't think that a number is truly reflective of your opinion. It's all down to words and thoughts and stuff because your mind is a lot more complicated than just a simple word. And The Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 2 is a perfect example because, to be quite honest, and I don't mean to be cheeky, I don't mean to be weird or sarcastic when I say this, but I have no idea what to think of Mockingjay Part 2. I saw the movie, I can promise you that. I can tell you what happened to the movie. I can tell you little things that I sort of reacted to, either positively or negatively, but overall, I just watched the movie. It was weird. It was I don't know if it was enjoyable. So I'm gonna give it a question mark out of 10, and hopefully, Sean, you and me will ride this train, and maybe I'll have a solid score by the end of it. But I kind of like this. Kind of like that the Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 2 stumped me of all movies.
Huh. That's very interesting. Yeah. And I disagree.
Which I mean, that still doesn't. That means that you either liked it or didn't like it.
Yeah, I have an opinion.
Yeah.
Haha. I showed you. Mockingjay Part 2, whether it be the fact that it's divided in half from a more complete book, and that makes it a little slower and not as structured, it's a little formless. Whether it's I'm not as into the franchise as a lot of people, I just enjoy the films as a quality, like the franchise itself I'm not into, or maybe there is some other force. As a whole, Mockingjay Part 2 has just the tiniest bit off about it. There was something when I was leaving the theater, I'm like, it didn't fully hit as much as it probably should have. That being said, the individual elements in this film, I cannot find anything wrong in them. I think it is an excellent blockbuster. There are absolutely amazing sequences throughout the runtime, and it is sandwiched by one hell of a theme. And this isn't a young adult movie. This is a war movie, and I really respect that. And it says more about war than most of the top whatever war movies. It's impressive. It's way darker, way more thoughtful and pondering than it has any right to be as just a young adult adaptation blockbuster. I really, really respect this movie. I thoroughly enjoyed myself, even if as a whole something was just the tiniest bit off. I'm going to have a hard time saying negative things. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's one of my favorites of the year. I'm going to be giving The Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 2 a score, and that score is 8.5 out of 10. just
Wow.
shy of Catching Fire's 9. But
Dang. Call me Hawkeye, because I did not see that coming.
What?
You didn't see that No?
Oh,
Okay.
Age of Ultron. Oh, nice. Anyway, where do we start? Where do we start with this?
Oh, boy.
I mean, I would say let's start with the series, but we just did that, so...
Yeah. Let's see. Again, I want to point out that the books in this conversation, we just put them on the shelf. They're staying on the shelf. Mm-hmm. We are in the theater. They're on the shelf in the room back home. They do not matter. They matter, but they do not matter. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So, can I talk about, like, just the tiny things that I reacted to in this movie? Maybe?
Yeah.
Because it really seems like you know what you're doing, so
yes.
I'm going to go and do my best with this. I will say this. I could tell... It's funny. There's a tragic irony that the first half of the movie I sort of had an idea of, like, what I thought about it. Because I wasn't liking it that much. Because the theme of... Or Katniss's character... Or Katniss character is redundant. Katniss is so done with all this. You can tell. And it kind of reflects in Jennifer Lawrence's performance is that she is also done with this franchise. She
really?
has other things to do. She has to go be... go do Oscar bait like Joy and like all that stuff.
She has to do 5 more David O. Russell movies with Bradley Cooper. Nothing wrong with that. We love you.
Nothing wrong. Hey, shout out to David O. Russell because I sort of liked American Hustle. Maybe
I did not like American Hustle, but I like the trailer.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, I understand the theme sort of Katniss's character, as in like not the theme of the movie. That's another discussion, but it doesn't really ring well if your main character, who I find Katniss so fascinating. People don't like her that much, but I find her so fascinating.
Yeah, no, she's a great protagonist.
And I think that when you have a protagonist that doesn't seem interested in the overall conflict, I think even though you can make some good commentary on that, it's not exactly a good sign when your actor is completely putting that on screen. As in, I am uninterested with this movie and this premise, and I did not get that either. So that's something I got. Another thing. Now, what did you think about that, Sean? Like, did you get that from Katniss?
No, I thought Jennifer Lawrence did a lot of her best scenes here. Honestly.
I think there's a lot of facial expressions, and I think she still needs to work on that. Personally, I think, like,
I didn't. Nothing jumped out at me. I think it was a good performance, and I don't want to talk about the character because the theme of the movie is kind of my favorite part, and just how it does it very simply, very effectively, and it's darker than it should be, and that's kind of in spoiler territory because it's really tied to a significant thing at the end. So I won't say anything more about Katniss, but I think it was a good performance. I didn't get that. I didn't get what you're talking about.
Maybe it's just me then, but like, let's see. Can we talk about Snow? Is that
yes?
Okay.
Our antagonist.
This is the big thing that I had a full, solid opinion on until we got to the second half of the movie, in which case all stuff was thrown into the mighty pits of Malebolge. Basically, Snow is not Voldemort. He is not who's another grave villain? He's not
Sauron?
Lecter. He's not Sauron. He's not Kilgrave, for those out there who know. He's not Kilgrave.
I've only seen the pilot. I need to watch more.
Watch it. It's amazing.
Oh, I know I will, but I gotta watch
The thing
my
is,
roommate.
Snow, just like the first half of the movie, and for the whole movie, I am just never given the good indication that I should be rooting for Katniss and friends and crew and company to be fighting against Snow. And I think maybe that was intentional because of what happens at the end, which, we won't spoil until we get there. But, like, this is a problem that happened in, I think, Catching Fire and Mockingjay Part 1. I have never cared about Katniss's conflict with Snow. I've never cared. I think he's just like the twirly mustache, let hope die. I think it was the part in I think maybe it was Catching Fire where he was like talking about extinguishing hope, and I'm like, oh, okay, this kind of guy, this is the kind of villain I'm gonna have to deal with. Great, fantastic. And
I think why I like President Snow is because I've had this idea for a villain for a long time, and no one's ever done it that I've seen, where basically the character says these horrible, horrific, terrible, terrifying, villainous things, but it's inflected so normally. So the way you would say, I need to run to the grocery store, they would say, I need to cut off the heads of 50 people. And so this idea that it's so normal and it's so just part of the daily life would come across as pretty terrifying. There's no craziness, there's no manic or so depressed and edgy. It's just normality to them. I think that would be a very effective character. Snow is the closest I've ever got to that, I've ever seen to that, where it's just kind of what he does. He seems actually kind of like a happy person, and this is just what he does. He talks about his evil plans so matter-of-factly, so unemotionally, but not like deadpan. I think it's a very unique type of villain, where It's like Katniss has this great rousing speech of like, you do evil things. And he goes, yes, I do, Miss Everdeen. And that's it. I find that very interesting. He's not evil. What he does is evil stuff. It's not like he embodies anything evil. You know, I'm not making a moral judgment. It's not like he acts evil. He just does evil stuff. And that's interesting. He doesn't connect to it. It's not tied to like a tragic backstory. It's not tied to this hate the people. It's what he does. I think that's interesting.
I think it's because maybe he does, like, unlike Kilgrave, Voldemort, and to a lesser extent Sauron, I think it's because Snow gets everybody else to do his work for him, and I never see him doing anything, like, truly evil. Like, sure. I want to see, like, maybe that's just not a me thing. I want to see him do something truly awful, not just say, like, go kill some children or something like that.
And again, that might be the point. I think that might be the point,
and that's where, like, your preference of villains really goes, because villains, like, we could do a whole podcast on, like, you know, different kinds of villains and which you prefer. So that's up in the air. But all that talk about Snow, like, I think it was kind of background noise. Now, again, what they do with him in the second half is interesting, and I like what they did with that. But it's not really established until the second half in Mockingjay Part 2. So let's see. I'm going to say it, Sean. I'm going to dig up this whole grave, this old thing that we did a year ago. Peeta still sucks, and Gale still sucks.
Oh, okay, no. See, I've never been a huge fan of Gale. They used Gale so well in this movie. Unfortunately, it kind of ties to the theme and the ending, so I can't really explain why quite yet. I think they used Gale really effectively in one spot that actually like justified the character being there the whole time. And I like Peeta. Why do people hate Peeta?
He's obnoxious. I could do a whole. You know what? I could do a whole video on why I don't like Peeta, why I think he's the worst part of this franchise, and why,
is terrible.
Given all the weird stuff going on in this movie, I wish Katniss had found a time machine, gone back in time, and killed Peeta in the first Hunger Games. This movie gets weird, guys. And
how do you hate Peeta?
Because he's not. I don't sympathize with him at all. I think he's whiny. And the thing is, he always gets in the way of Katniss. I love Katniss Everdeen. I love what she is.
Yes,
I love, like her whole character is very fascinating. And there's all these cool stuff. And then it all has to go aside because of a stupid love triangle.
Peeta drives that. Peeta's the Achilles heel, and Snow knows that. That's how Mockingjay Part 1 ends. Peeta represents like the one thing she's never been able to give up throughout these series. Right, he's very important to her. Has been since Catching Fire is when they actually kind of start a relationship. And Mockingjay, the whole point was get Peeta back. That was the plot. Yeah. A lot of people say that it didn't have a beginning and end. I think it does. The whole point was to get Peeta.
Oh yeah, Mockingjay Part 1 totally has a beginning and end.
The whole point of Mockingjay Part 1 was to get Peeta. Who the heck says
that it doesn't? What?
Well, a lot of people online are like, it doesn't have a good end point.
Again, guys. I think you missed it. I think you dismissed it too early and too late.
Literally the first thing Katniss says, her first like dialogue exchange is, go get Peeta. And the movie ends with them getting Peeta. Come on, guys. Anyway, that carries through to here, where she has no choice but to put up with the fact that she can't she can't kill him. And it's kind of spoiler, but we kind of know his situation at the end of Part 1, so we can say that. He's been brainwashed to try to kill her. She has to live with that. I think that makes her character more interesting. I think Peeta pushes that. I think her sympathy and her inability to fully give into this war thing, which I'll touch on again in the theme section, is very much tied to Peeta. And Peeta is there as this reminder of what the war has ruined and also what she can't stoop to. I think he plays a very important role, and I have always liked Peeta. Anyway, if you really want to, there's a hilarious YouTube video where someone photoshopped in Peeta bread to all the shots where Katniss says Peeta, and it is just hilarious. Right now. I will send it to you, Max.
I will. Okay, I have a web show. I actually kind of want to do a whole video on why Peeta is bad, and I will make arguments. I'll have arguments and all that stuff. So I'm not,
because I suggested it like 5 minutes ago. I said real talk why Peeta sucks. I don't think you heard.
Why does he suck? Peeta Malark.
And then I'll make Sean's better real talk why he doesn't.
And anyway. Gale is he's another thing entirely, but I guess we'll debate about that later.
We'll get there.
Let's see.
So we should probably talk about like the general plot. The first act is kind of playing with the same kind of ideas as Mockingjay Part 1. I thought that felt right, kind of a carryover where they were like, you can't go into the war, you got to do this. Propos, the propos, shoot the propaganda movies and all that. That carried well. I think that was a solid way to start it. But then she breaks free, and then she goes into the war zone, and she's full on in the war, and it becomes full war movie. That was a smooth transition. I liked how they handled that. Mm-hmm. It made it feel like a Mockingjay movie, and it should be. It's Mockingjay Part 2, so it felt right. Would you agree?
Yeah. I would say the first half is most certainly like a well executed slog. I'm really tripping here because I'm not sure if I want to if I want to say I thought it was this because I still don't know.
What else? A lot of the minor characters, I will say, kind of fell away. I kind of like they were fun, whatever. But like the mute guy in the mines, or the subways who led them,
guy.
he was Froggy or Frog. Yeah, Frog. No, what's his name? In Daredevil, what's his face?
Oh my God,
Foggy.
Wait, that was him?
Yeah,
What?
that was him.
Oh my God, what?
So I will say that some of my characters kind
blows my
of
mind.
fell aside, and there is a death kind of soon that totally made sense plot-wise, and totally was a good motivation, changed the circumstances, led to some good moments, but was a little rushed, and that was another like side effect of this, being split in two,
feel like
where that would have happened like 60% through the movie, but here it's like pretty early.
I feel like some characters dropped like flies, and it was like really like
Yes,
out of
one
nowhere.
later involving some water was a bit quick, but I think that was kind of the point. It felt fine.
Are you
but
talking about the
we'll get there.
black stuff? The tar?
No. There was some splashing as someone was murdered.
Oh,
Anyway,
yeah, that's okay. We will
worked. It was
talk
effective.
about that whole thing. Yeah.
All right. So what I really want to talk about in the middle here, two sequences that I absolutely loved back to back, and that's when they go into the sewer
All right,
system.
that's what I was going to talk about. Yeah.
Finally, someone. It's as if both the director and the editor know that suspense is actually very mechanical. If you watch a movie, you can tell when the jump scares are coming.
Yeah.
And people use that to their advantage, where they build to that moment. You know it's going to be, bah, jump scare. Oh my goodness. I was so off balance in that scene. It was amazing. Like when who turned out to be Foggy/Froggy, can't remember his name, Daredevil, that guy.
It's Foggy,
When
it's
he
not
was
Froggy. It
checking
is
a
Foggy.
corner.
It's
Okay.
Foggy.
When he was checking a corner, he went around, the tension built. There was one shot. I was like, okay, he's going to come out. Somebody's going to jump. I was like, wait, something has, what? I was like reeling. Like those key, that key second where something was supposed to happen came and went. And I was just sitting there going, wait, what? It was like this weird off balance. And then he just appears back in frame. I was like, oh, that was so well done.
Yeah.
And complete expectations were completely thrown out the window. And that whole sequence,
Now, hold on.
it was
Has this
paced
been like
so
talked about at
beautifully.
all in the marketing or anything? Because this might be where we go into spoilers. Because this completely caught me off guard. I had no idea what was about to happen, and then that.
Okay,
happened.
you know what? Let's just go spoilers. I honestly, you guys, it's been out a while, so if you want to see, I guess you have seen it, but I would highly recommend you see it. But honestly, we should just get to spoilers. So yeah, they're in the sewers, and I thought that was just amazingly paced. Like I was so engrossed in that sequence. Did you have any reaction to the?
I was like, my ears were. You remember this during Jurassic World when I sort of had my fingers on like standby to plug my ears because I knew it was coming. I knew it was happening, but I had no idea what was going to. That okay? So if you don't know, and you probably do because you're through this part of the video, so that there's you probably saw the movie or you don't care. So Katniss Everdeen and gang and friends, they're trying to get through the sewers, and then all of a sudden, out of to me nowhere, they get attacked by what I can only assume are like zombie monster things, like actually zombie monster things, like not like I'm talking about like even worse than those weird things in I Am Legend. Like we're talking like about monsters, like actual monsters in the Hunger Games.
Yeah,
and there's a point, there's a shot, it's clear as day to me, where Katniss like pulls out her freaking bow and she shoots one of them in the head, and I'm like, I should be enjoying the heck out of this. And I really wasn't, but I wasn't like disliking what I was saying. I was so bewildered. I was like, oh, what? Is this how it goes in the book? Is this why people don't like the book? Because it has such a jarring the enemy that's like so weird, and then we also see.
If I can say just one thing, I mean, I know the books don't matter stuff, but I luckily going into this, I had a little bit of background with the books. The dogs at the end of the first Hunger Games movie.
The dog?
They like the wolf type dog things. They surround Peeta and the other tribute. Well, those in the book are like genetically like pieced together, kind of Frankenstein style creations from the other tributes' bodies. It's dark.
What?
Movies didn't do that. Yeah,
that's disgusting.
At least that's how I understood it. That was a while ago I heard that, but it stuck with me. And so they referred to them as mutts. And so what I'm guessing they are is kind of the same thing. And they looked like kind of weird, like genetic goop
they look all the
thrown
same.
into human body. Yeah. So I'm thinking that they're basically just like base humans that are like these monsters. I don't know. I kind of like that they were mysterious, but they were a bit out of nowhere. I remember seeing like a shot of one in a TV spot, so I wasn't completely caught off guard. But I can see why it was a little off-putting.
Like, okay, and had this movie, like, spilled a drop, like, had this movie gotten, like, an R rating, it would have traumatized millions of teenage girls. Like, absolutely.
It could have gotten bloody.
This got violent.
Yeah,
like,
it's a war movie.
Yeah,
I'll get to that.
It's a war movie.
Appreciate
like,
that.
I just did not expect to see somebody's legs being blown off. Like,
yeah, no, it happens.
Okay.
It happens.
Now, and I don't know if that's... and I know this is a war movie. I know this is not, like... This has become something... I mean, I don't even know what it is, but... I will say, I think that violence could have been a bit more, like, maybe not toned down, but a bit more, like, a bit not so over the top. Like, if the guy lost one leg, or if, like, they weren't ripping the guy to shreds in that last part before she blows him up. That whole thing was really sad, actually. I was like, oh,
no,
man.
we'll get there. I want to talk about that sequence. Do you mind if I get to that sequence real
Yeah,
quick?
go for it, yeah.
Like, the actual attack, when they're at the ladder and they kind of have to hold off, there's this new type of action sequence that I really like, that I haven't seen as much, that really should become more popular. And this is the second time I've seen it that it really hit me. It's what I would call the onslaught action scene. And the first time I saw it be unbelievably effective was, it's been a while, bear with me, just put up with it, Game of Thrones. The episode that everyone's considering the best, Hard Home. Minor spoilers, whatever. There's a fort under attack by these forces, and it's a nonstop barrage. They kept flooding in. And the entire, like, back third or even back half of the episode is literally a nonstop attack. They keep pouring in, they keep losing, just fighting back, just fighting as best they can, but they keep losing, and it's just every single attack feels like they barely got out of it, and it's nonstop, and that is very threatening to me. I think more zombie movies should do that. From what I've seen with The Walking Dead, they've touched on it. But a joke that went around when Hard Home hit was Game of Thrones just did Walking Dead better than Walking Dead. This is kind of the same scene.
See, what it looked like to me was Call of Duty Zombies. Like,
oh yeah,
there was that one point where, like,
definitely.
people like shooting these monsters in the head and like sort of like running over and like, this is like what? Just do a Hunger Games Call of Duty expansion pack. Bam, there you go.
Yeah,
easy money.
And easy. And to an extent, Age of Ultron did it when they're protecting that button when Sokovia is about to drop. It's kind of nonstop robots. But there it was used as a show-off of everyone in their unity coming together and fighting. Here in Hunger Games, I felt everyone was at risk.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I knew, weren't spoilers. I knew Peeta made it. I knew Katniss made it. I had those spoilers, unfortunately. It didn't really matter to me. I enjoyed the movie a lot anyway. But I was still worried. Like, honestly, like, it was just constant. Every single shot where someone was almost eaten, I was like, that was close. That's rare. That's a well-done action scene. Because, look, suspension of disbelief, of course, kicks in. But I hate it in movies where, like, just so early on, they're like, fear for the character's life. Like, no, come on. It's film language. We know that the main character's going to make it. Now, sometimes they screw with you, like Scream, and the main character doesn't make it and turns out to be a different main character the rest of the movie. Or Psycho, where halfway through it drops. But in this case, Katniss was going to make it. Peeta was going to make it, all that. It's still, I was on the edge of my seat. I thought that was an amazing scene. They just kept coming in. They kept doing amazing things to repel them, like the fire arrows. It was never enough. It felt very much a real threat. I really appreciated it.
I mean, it just, like, I feel like I should have been enjoying it a lot more than I did, and it just, I don't know. I mean,
You know what I'd recommend, Max? After this, I'd recommend, if you have time, probably stick around in theaters. Star Wars might, put it in jeopardy, but try to see it again. I think second viewings, I've had that reaction to movies. Second viewings have helped.
In fact, the last time I had a reaction to this was the fourth Transformers movie, but
But that movie is magnificent and stupid and stupidly magnificent.
Hold on. Did my mic just glitch out weird for a second there?
Not really, no.
Oh, okay, because it looked like it kind of... Whatever. Well,
I don't want to edit this, audience. If Max's mic is acting up, we're so sorry. We're so sorry. We can't fix it.
I don't know what's going on, guys. This mic has not done any
Oh well, there's your behind the scenes look. Anyway, can we get to the ending? Do you have anything else to add, Max?
Well, let's get to the second half, which is or the third act or whatever.
Yeah, third act. That's what I mean by ending.
Okay, so at this point, I was like, okay, whatever. I guess I'm sort of liking what I'm saying. I guess it's kind of decent. And then the second half happens, and I am left speechless. But not because it was bad or good, because I had nothing to say. I was like, oh, all right. So that is a movie that happened, and yeah. So let's talk about the second half. Yes.
Okay. Let's start with Why wasn't Gwendolyn Christie in this movie more? She should have been in the second half.
Oh, wait,
Anyway.
wait, hold on. What was her thing?
She was the commander at District 2. She's Brienne of Tarth in Game of Thrones and Brienne of Darth in Star Wars. She's Captain Phasma. Like, she deserved
Oh, that's right.
more
Wait,
screen
was she
time.
the bald one? No.
No, she...
The bald one was awesome. I wanted her in that movie more. I don't remember.
Well, yeah, she was from Catching Fire and stuff. She was,
Was she the one who got
Joanna with the
undressed
axe.
in front of...
Yeah, she's awesome. She's crazy.
Yeah. I wanted to see her more, though she probably died.
I was a
and that
little
sad.
bummed. Yeah. Okay, let's talk about... There's really no way to beat around the bush. Can we just talk about the point, the theme? Can we just get to this? Why I love the movie?
I think I can tell you what the theme is, but like...
Okay, go. What did you get from it? I'm
Well,
curious.
okay. What I will say that I liked that I saw in sort of respects is that Mockingjay is clearly a movie about how war is complicated. It's not about the good guys versus the bad guys. It is about two sides with different ideologies facing each other, and both sides have their good and bad. That's the whole point. Like the fact that the rebels would allowingly drop bombs on children to kill them, and then also bomb a bunch of their own in order to somehow frame Snow is like pretty much puts them on the same level as the Capitol, and that's where So
right.
Is that what the theme was? Because
I think that is a part of it, but I think there's something deeper. That's the theme of a lot of war movies. It's complicated.
Okay,
Every war movie that has the scene where they capture the enemy soldier and then they bond over common humanity, let him go, or he's tragically killed. That's always in play. I think Mockingjay did something really smart, really surprising, really honestly pretty brave. Okay, we talked about them bombing the kids, that second bomb thing going off, and that was intense. I was shocked. They killed Primrose. That was intense because
that was out of
the
nowhere.
whole series happens because Katniss is protecting Prim.
And then
that was an amazing beat.
And she
was just,
can I confirm something with you, John?
Yeah.
In that next sequence, she was going to kill herself, wasn't she? She was going to take the thing. Like after the,
I don't remember. Maybe I can't remember. I can't remember the exact few shots
during the whole planned assassination of Snow, right? Like she puts that capsule thing. She was going to kill herself, wasn't she? Because the whole point of this whole series is now dead. Like the catalyst for this whole thing.
Oh yes, right after definitely.
So like that was interesting, but it came out of nowhere. It was like
I thought that's good.
I mean, I think it's a more realistic interpretation of something that happening. Yeah. But like, give us a second. Like, oh my god, because it becomes the entire emotional threshold of the rest of the film, and it's like, okay, guys, let's but keep going.
So here's the theme of the movie as I saw it. War is not fought between two sides. War is fought between individuals with their motives.
Okay.
Remember when I said it was sandwiched? Because at the very beginning, it's laid out a little clearly, but I think it works, when one of the innocent victims running from the Capitol's reign pulls out a gun and holds it at Katniss's head and asks, tell me, give me a good reason I don't kill you right now. And she said, I don't have one.
Good moment.
That's the problem. Yeah. She says, you burned, your side burned District 12. I'm killing you. I just, bombed out here. I, destroyed us rebels have done this. You have reason. Do it. But because she said that, because she kind of related, he doesn't. And that's kind of the theme of, it's common humanity, all that. But I think it hints at something much deeper, which is everyone has that reason. No one's just like good, evil. That doesn't exist. And I loved its statement that everyone's fighting for their own reasons. And that's what makes the ending so good for me. Why it works. Because why has Katniss been fighting?
To save Prim.
They even made a unbelievably bizarre trailer. I've never seen a trailer like it. It's weird. It feels like a fan edit. Have you seen this trailer?
No.
For Prim, it's called. It's this weird montagey, like overlapping shots of her and Prim. Like,
oh my god! Had I seen that, I would have known what's coming, and I'm glad I didn't see it.
Everything's for Prim. So basically, here's how it ends. Turns out that her side is just as bad. And it turns out that the side she was fighting on, Julianne Moore's character, I can't remember her name, the character's name.
Coin.
Who?
Coin.
It turns out she killed sister. Katniss goes up to execute Snow, but she that's not what she's fighting.
The awesome thing is because it's just totally through the writing and through Jennifer Lawrence's performance, you can tell what's actually going to happen. You're like, oh, it's gonna be so good.
Yep. She doesn't kill Snow. She kills her because what war is she fighting? She's fighting hers. She's not fighting anyone's. The good versus bad war is to execute Snow. Her war is to get justice for her sister's death and to put down this monster that's now kind of just taking control. And it's kind of hinted that she almost confirmed that she planned this the whole time and she's not going to give up power anytime soon. That is her war. That's her fight.
Yeah,
I love that.
And the fact that nobody's surprised, like all like the supporting characters are not surprised by this, is also a nice touch.
Especially the unfortunately then absent Philip Seymour Hoffman.
That is so strange. To still see him in the film. When did they film this? Like honestly, like was this like
part 1 was filmed with 2. They were filmed at the same time.
God.
Yeah, so he died during filming, and you can tell when Haymitch reads the letter that was supposed to be him, but they handled it well. Yeah, they handled it well.
I thought they filmed all of this stuff. All right, this is technical stuff. Okay, so what the only thing that sort of like got it for me, I have 2 complaints about the scene. One of which is totally technical, and one of which is sort of the thing I'm about to talk about right now. There's a shot where so I want to say the final confrontation between Katniss and Snow is actually really nice. I actually like that a lot. Yes. I think I don't know if it's as good as Harry v Voldemort, because I don't know if anything will top that, but I really liked how it was so quiet, which is another thing I like about this ending, but I'm not sure if I like the execution. There's a part after she kills Coin where Snow, who has this disgusting yellow teeth and like blood in his, he starts to laugh, and that sort of tells me that. Like, the thing that got to me first is that he was lying about it and Katniss fell for it. And I'm like, that's great. But it's not true. So I think that was a bit confusing. Now, the thing is...
I got it. Basically, he found it so funny that they were both played, that Katniss has been fighting for the wrong side, that the person she was fighting for...
She was not fighting for the wrong side. She was just fighting the wrong war or something.
Well, she was fighting her war and happened to be on the side that ended up not fighting that war. But I think he just found it so funny that she was alone, that she was just her own fight, that she wasn't into this whole cause, that this whole I hate Snow, I'm with the rebels, Mockingjay, symbol of rebellion, just killed their leader. He found that hilarious. The ideology had fallen away completely.
So
that's what I got. I thought he loved that.
Snow got it, and then he got massacred.
He was torn apart. I was afraid they were going to do like 2 towers where the Uruk-hai there was like intestines flying up from the Uruk-hai. I was like, ooh, are they going to show something really graphic?
No, this is PG-13.
He was
they wouldn't
torn
do that.
apart by that.
This was R-rated. They would have totally done that.
Well, Lord of the Rings was PG-13.
Yeah,
but
I mean, I like that whole thing of like we were just played by Coin because people are like don't trust Coin, and I enjoy Julianne Moore's performance, but like
honestly, they were both played by war as a concept.
Yeah.
Sure, Snow might be bad. Obviously, the bad side is Snow, right? If you're going to root for Katniss or Snow, obviously, you root for Katniss. But in the end, his entire government system was, shut down. Katniss's world was destroyed. Her home, her sisters killed, everything.
Yeah.
And for what? In the end, both of their worlds were almost completely destroyed. And I think he just found it hilarious that she realized
Katniss realized that in the end, it doesn't even matter.
Right. And so here's why I liked Gale. I want to bring Gale in because...
Okay, fine.
So here's what Gale represents. Gale represents the war. And it's hinted at the beginning. Gale was like, sometimes war isn't personal. Katniss says war is always personal. Gale was just fighting the war.
And he was trying to not make it personal, but he did.
It was justified. The war itself was justified for its own sake. It was the war. And it was so important that he probably was the one that led to Prim's death. He designed that bomb system.
I didn't get that at all, actually. Like, I did not... Like, the whole second bomb thing absolutely did not... I didn't get anything. Like, I was surprised they would...
It was at the very beginning. Remember when they're talking about the plans? It's hinted. There's a scene at the beginning where Gale's talking about this plan where the first bomb goes off, then people rush in, a second one goes off, maximum casualties. He designed that.
Oh, okay. I guess I just
he designed the bomb that kills Prim.
Yeah.
The war had nothing to do with her individual goals. She was always fighting for Prim. And then when Gale's basically Gale's invention, Gale's idea kills her, it shows that the war was never with her.
Yeah.
She was never actually a part of this. They don't care. And so I love the scene where she just said goodbye, Gale. She was never going to forgive him. He was never going to expect that she would. They were done. It was over. I love that.
And
no love triangle. No, we could have been something. It was over. He bought into it. He didn't understand. Prim is dead because of that. It was very dark, very well handled, very mature.
I suppose I still don't like Gale. I still think, it's funny. I was talking to my friends about this, and they also agree with me that Pete and Gale are terrible. And and what they explained to me was that what I see right now with these two pretty boys who are only there getting Katniss's development, this is how female characters have been treated for the last 100 years. And
that's the thing. I disagree. I think both characters have their roles, but I totally get that whole. See, this is what it's like.
But look, did you have to spite? I mean, you know what? I'm not even going to do this. This will be for another time. But right now, I guess it's just. This is what we need to make things better because I don't want to see more Pitas and Gales in my movies. I don't want that.
I disagree. I think these characters are good. I don't think they fit what you're saying, but I agree with what you're saying. If that makes sense.
Where else do we need to go? Okay. I will say this about the ending. I respect the movie and to a lesser extent the book to end on a quiet note. There was no Battle of Hogwarts. There was no huge climactic finale. What happened was
because Katniss isn't part of the war.
Yeah,
I thought that was a really smart move.
If she was
in the battle, if we showed it. She's the mascot and fighting for her own reasons. She's never actually part of this. She's not actually in the war. And kind of the point of the movie is that no one is. That's kind of the point, because even Gale regrets it, so that's kind of the theme of the movie. So I actually like that. Yeah, a quiet note.
Mm-hmm. It's just it's really sad. And I will say it also has the most unrealistic portrayal of a cat, because if you threw something at a cat, it would leave. Okay,
freak the crap out.
It would leave and it would never come back. It would do exactly what Katniss said. So that is unfazed, but I'm glad she didn't actually hit the cat because that'd be sad.
Yeah.
Actually, there's one thing I actually wanted to bring up that's kind of a technical thing regarding the assassination scene.
Okay.
It's so nitpicky, but I'm actually kind of upset. In this scene of all this preparation and stuff, of this kind of a show, isn't it? Everybody playing on the huge drums. Katniss wears the whole black thing. When in reality, I was so ready to see her in that super awesome red battle armor that she had on the posters. Where is that? Where is that?
I'm sorry.
I am so upset that was never used because that is awesome. That is awesome, and the fact they did not use that is false advertising, sir. That is false advertising. Okay?
Okay, well, so basically, to say the very ending, not the climax, which is the assassination, that's where the thing comes in.
The epilogue? Or?
Yeah, I liked it. I think Harry Potter, it's kind of the same thing as Harry Potter, where you jump ahead, they got kids.
Here's the thing.
It wasn't a happy ending. It wasn't a strictly speaking happy ending. It was a very realistic one. It's pretty well laid out. I'm not digging deep here. She says, she still has nightmares. This still affects her. Everything this terrible thing that happened, but she deals with it.
I will say that it's a great ending line, though. There are far worse games to play.
I was like, it's thematic and it references the title. Oh, I got it. Movie, you did good.
Yeah.
That's just such a great end note. If I top 10 franchise ending notes, that's up there.
Yeah.
What did Lord of the Rings do? I'm back. I mean, that was okay, but whatever. No, this. What was Harry Potter's last line?
I don't think it was anything in particular. It was just the musical note and the last. I think the last shot was the important thing.
When it hits the note, da 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 da. Yeah.
Here's the thing. I'm gonna say that I'm gonna first say I am one of the few people out there who really enjoys the epilogue in Deathly Hallows Part 2.
Oh, I do too. I'm one of those people. I like it.
Okay, cool. I like that epilogue, even though a lot of people don't think it's too super unnecessary and stuff. I was sort of sad that Katniss had kind of resorted to the housewife kind of thing, just in what she's dressed as and what all that stuff. It's a bit.
Here's kind of thing though.
I do like how she's talking to the baby, even though the baby has the funniest face.
Yeah.
The most what are you talking about face? It was so funny.
I would say this. The point of Katniss is that she never wanted any of this, and so I think I didn't see it as her falling back to the woman happy life is motherhood. I didn't read it like that. I read it as she's not part of it. She never wanted to be. That's the whole point. Hunger Games, she was forced into it. Catching Fire is all about them hey, be a symbol. And she says no. Mockingjay is her struggling with being that symbol, and Mockingjay Part 2 is finally her taking charge, rejecting the symbol, fighting her own war. It's a great arc.
And she did. Okay, here's a question, Sean. Here's a question.
Not being part of it.
Here's a question. Did she win her own war?
Yes.
You think she did?
Prim, though.
Even though she lost Prim?
But her own war of not being in the war, yes. And she ended up doing the right thing. I think that's what's important. She was the hero. People might not see it, but I mean, look, Coin would have probably been a ruthless dictator, realistically. She didn't seem that principled. She felt shady, you know? Julianne Moore played that well, where on one side she felt so inspiring later, speeches, principle, but, you know, there was something off. And then Mockingjay Part 2, she's doing all these horrible things. Yeah, she did the right thing, though. So I like that Katniss was still technically the war hero. But she left. That was her victory. She got to be happy outside of that screwed up society. So that's why I don't see it as just housewife. She won. She won.
GG, guys. Peace out. Like, that was, I mean, and I think it takes a lot to sort of just put it down and say, I'm done. I'm leaving.
Yeah. I think
I respect the movie and the book, I guess, because I've read it. But apparently
and it's the same. She's with Peeta. Though, apparently in the book, they're really unhappy.
Really?
And that's something I really appreciate. I liked the romance in this movie between those two. I liked the last ending where it says, "You love me, real or unreal."
That was a good
really
line,
nice.
but
that was really nice.
Still, just
also because it was a nice callback to that scene in Catching Fire, where Candace has a nightmare. Peeta's there. That I really like that scene. So yeah, again, I think she wins the war because she got out of it. Yeah. And they wanted her to be this leader of it, but she did her part, but not the way they wanted. She did it on her own terms. She did what was right. She did lose Prim, and she lost Gale. Even like as a friend, you know, romantically he went away after Catching Fire, but even as a friend, she lost him. Yeah. But in the end, she has Peeta, who in the whole series has kind of just been a symbol of what probably should have been. He's just the baker, you know. He's just the baker, and so the kind of love triangle the movie had. Gale being so completely shut out and having a happy ending with Peeta. And in the book, apparently, it's not that happy. But the movie, I think, had the good idea to make it a happy ending with Peeta. It's because it's just the ultimate choice between the war and just being her. She never wanted to be part of it. Peeta is just life.
Yeah,
Peeta's
apparently,
life.
In the book, it's been like 20 years. Like, that looked like it was like 5 years later.
Yeah, because they were like a 2-year-old and a newborn, pretty much.
I mean, I guess it's a better way out than like trying to make him look 20 years older, and that's just like weird. By the way, do you know that right now, even though this movie portrays Katniss as like 18 years old, Jennifer Lawrence is 30? That's like Andrew Garfield levels of.
I never thought Katniss was that young. I always gave them a little bit of time gap, so I always thought she'd be like mid-20s. So it doesn't really jar me. Yeah. It's not really jarring to me.
Whatever. Let's see. Anything else? I do really like the music. I really like the score. I'll say that. Again, that cannot factor in to the overall like or dislike of this movie. But
and I liked the lack of a score in that sewer build intensity. You have to know when to have music and when to not. That's part of
this movie knew when to keep it down.
Yeah.
And then also, I liked the lullaby during the credits. I thought that was like very nice. I like the what's it called, the Hanging Tree. That song from the part 1. I like that more, but I like this one. And then let's see. I mean. Is there anything else to go over? I mean, the action set pieces were pretty cool, though. People died in the strangest ways. There was that one time where, like, concentrated heat, like, melted somebody or something like that. Like, while they were running.
It's dark,
it's like,
man.
this movie is dark, but I think sometimes its deaths are, like, kind of silly. Like, again, turning into, like, he didn't turn even, like, to much. He turned into, like, to blocks of...
Sure.
What?
I was just saying, sure, I can see it,
Yeah, even in these, like, last 40 minutes, I still have... no idea what to think of this movie, and I kind of like that. I will say I don't mind the movie. I suppose I like it, but also I don't know. I'm not going to try.
Well, why don't you rewatch it if you find the time and are in a theater? It's still in theaters. You know, when we're all done with school, I have time for that. And I'll just say what I think really quick because I definitely know. I'll just restate. I think this, like, when most blockbusters, like even like the Marvel movies that I love, I think they're really well done. Acting, the story, they have some good points. Like Winter Soldier was surprisingly like legit in its drama, and like Marvel movies can get great, but they're not like that dark. They don't hit on themes that are kind of beyond their range.
No, that's for Netflix. That's for Netflix Marvel.
Yeah, that's for Jessica Jones. But honestly, A Mockingjay took the risk and it paid off hugely. This is like, if you showed someone like, oh yeah, this young adult book adaptation franchise, you know, there's, the 2 cute boys you have to choose to. Like, if you showed them the setup and this dystopian world, I think they'd be amazed at how dark yet well handled and mature this movie is. This is one of the bigger blockbusters of 2015, and it says so much more than, like, honestly, I'm trying to think of like Saving Private Ryan, my favorite war movie. I'm like, what does it really say about war? I don't know. It just kind of, I guess the point is like, make it worth it. And that's a good point. But I think this hit harder. And I think this is a war movie with something very important, very legitimate to say. And I respect it. I love it. I'm all around incredibly positive. So, there you go. I think it was a great theme. Well built. What more can I say?
Mm-hmm.
Boom.
Cool. All right,
So
let's
again,
get out of here. We got
again,
work to do.
me, 8.5 out of 10. Max, question mark.
Yep.
So, we might have to revisit it. When you see it, and maybe
don't
Larry
know.
can see it, we can revisit.
I mean,
but,
I kind of would like to maybe watch it again, and just to
I
maybe
kinda-
pick it apart a little bit more, just to
honestly,
maybe
I'm
there was
gonna
so much going on, I could only grasp onto like half of it, and so I can't really give a full evaluation because I don't know what the other half was. I don't know, but reviews are not for rewatches. Reviews are one-time watches.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that does it for us this time. Thanks for watching, and I guess thanks for listening. And I guess the question still kind of stands of Mockingjay and Good Dinosaur, that sort of thing. Next up, we're going to try to review Creed. That's the next plan.
Creed.
And Larry will be here for that if it happens. Oh, wait, actually, okay, it's all on me. I have not seen Creed yet, and I'm busy. I don't know. If I can't see it, you'll get Larry and Max reviewing Creed.
Yeah.
That'll be fun. And then, you guys, we're like 16, 17 days from Star Wars Force Awakens.
Close.
I'm seeing it open at night, and then the
I'm
next
seeing it open
day,
at night as well.
and we will record as soon as I'm back from that second showing on Friday. You will get it as soon as possible. And we don't know who's hosting. We're going to think of something. Oh, there's your question. We don't know who's hosting. I think we all want it because, Star Wars movie. Who wants to host a review? And we want to kind of do something special to decide who gets it, like a contest or something, fun. So if you can think of something Star Wars-y that could kind of decide who gets to host, leave it in the comments. That'd be appreciated. But yeah, until that Creed review, my name is Sean.
And my name is Max.
And yeah, you'll hear us later. Though
Hear us
maybe
later.
not
You
me.
understand?
You understand? So yeah, goodbye. And may the odds be ever in your favor. I got to do it. I'm sorry.